Oh no.
Uh,
All right,
Shit.
here's the this is the story of me getting arrested for shoplifting.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
this
good.
is perfect because
Oh.
I've done the same thing.
Oh, maybe you
this
guys
is
could
gonna be
swap
great.
stories after. All right, everybody who's not Chaggot, mute your mic.
Okay. I'm gonna refresh anyways. Because I think I'm in the other room.
All right. Okay. Going to jail for the first time. Shoplifting, winter 2011. In South Florida, every mall has its own personality. The Boca Town Center was the ritzy mall. Coral Square was the suburban mall. Sawgrass was the mall you got lost in. And then there was the Broward Mall. Pete had told me never to go there because it was ghetto. So naturally, I was dying to check it out. I decided I would be productive one day and kill two birds with one stone. I would go visit the Broward Mall and I could get some shoplifting in. I'm not going to say I liked riding the bus because I didn't have my car, but I will say taking public transportation sure brought an extra level of authenticity to the whole hood experience. The Broward Mall was in Plantation off of Broward Boulevard, and I could barely keep from beaming ear to ear as I checked out the area. Every car in sight had rims. There was a Church's Chicken, Metro PCS, and of course, the staple of every hood, the Discount Beauty Supply. This was the flashy hood, like something out of a Gucci Mane video. This wasn't the rundown depressing hood. This was the flashy hood, like something out of a Gucci Mane video. I stepped into the mall on my mission to get some new clothes. It's hard to believe I used to dedicate entire days to this venture. You have to remember, when I was 19, my maturity level was like that of a 14 or 15-year-old. So if you look at it like that, it's actually not so shocking at all. You could tell this was an urban mall because the Macy's was carrying Coogee shirts. I took 3 of them into the dressing room, tugged at the security tags until they broke off, threw the shirts in my backpack, and headed towards the exit. I did my trick of chilling by the door to see if anybody was moving into action, and the coast was clear. Next, I went to Dillard's. I had heard that Dillard's had next to no security, and I heard right. I walked out of there with some Sean John shorts and a Rockaware polo. The rush of getting away with it had me flying high. This was about more than getting some free clothes. This was about pulling off something that, although it's not positive, does require a certain craftiness, a certain savvy. Forget reading social cues. You have to be able to read a million different variables and get inside everyone's head in the store if you want to get away with shoplifting. Suffice it to say, this was not the kind of thing I should be good at. Probably a lot of neurotypical people wouldn't be good at it. However, what a lot of neurotypical people would have been good at is getting out of Macy's and Dillard's and quitting while they were ahead. It was like when I was at a PET meeting with my parents, a parent-teacher conference, in 7th grade, and they asked me why I was, as they said, pushing limits. I said, because I'm always feeling around for the walls until I bang up against one, and then I know that's as far as I can push it. The problem was, even once I found the walls, I liked to stay right at them or try to see if I could expand them over time. So on I went to Sears. I was getting cocky because I had just got away with stealing from 2 stores. Why would Sears be any different? They had some fresh US Polo Association shirts on sale. Some people would clown me for preferring the cheap knockoff polo instead of the authentic Ralph Lauren polo. My logic was that USPA, despite being an imitation brand, was actually more hood, because in the hood you will see more people wearing USPA than the real thing. Where was the lie? Back in high school, Nick's sister Tina once told me that gray was my color, and I never forgot her advice. I saw a gray USPA shirt with a big pony logo in dark blue on sale for $34.99. I actually had enough money to buy it, but that wasn't what I came for. I took my backpack and dropped it in the lawnmower section, went back, got the shirt, and then threw it in my backpack. I didn't even do my trick of chilling by the door to see if anyone was getting into motion before I walked out. And to top it all off, I was getting so sloppy that I didn't even walk outside. I actually walked back into the mall. Suddenly, I heard, "Excuse me, sir, I need the merchandise." As you can imagine, my heart sank. But there is a protective reflex in my brain that works kind of like a trampoline. As soon as things go bad, my mind immediately thinks, everything's fine. This is no big deal. I kept telling myself I would be fine, and I'd talk my way out of it. The security guard walked me back to a private room that was apparently set aside just for this purpose. I was going to cooperate, so obviously I handed over the merchandise. I got a look at the security room and realized that there was a huge disparity in store security. Dillard's and Macy's were both so easy. I assumed Sears would be the same, but no. Sears had 1984 levels of surveillance. I knew he was gonna do it. He was looking around way too much, a female security guard exclaimed. The place looked like a high-tech police station with giant monitors up and down the walls. It was clear they had been watching me the whole time. Do you want me to keep going, or?
Yeah, I'm literally on the edge of my seat. Keep going.
Oh, okay. My protective reflexes telling me everything will be okay would have been accurate, except that I didn't have my ID on me at the time. Normally for shoplifting, you would just get a ticket. But because they couldn't verify who I was, they were forced to take me to jail. I was relieved that the police officer who showed up was friendly. He asked me why I did it, and then told me it was a bummer I had to go to jail over a $30 shirt. He then got on the phone with another officer who asked if I was being cooperative and said, yes, he is very cooperative. Even though I was in handcuffs, that was a nice compliment to hear. The security woman started looking through my backpack at the other clothes in there. Coogee, she said, obviously surprised and maybe a little impressed by my urban taste in menswear. She saw where the security tags had been ripped off, and she knew what was up. But you only get busted from the store that catches you. Those ain't from my store. I ain't gonna worry about that, she said. So I ended up going to jail with all the other stolen clothes I had gotten away with. So even though I got caught for one shirt, it was like a net profit. I had previously had a lot of encounters with the police, so I wasn't all that surprised that I finally found myself in jail. I felt like it was a rite of passage, the type of thing everybody has to do once. Not only did the Fort Lauderdale jail have lots of black guys, these weren't just any black guys. They had gold teeth, dreads, and face tattoos. It was a pretty safe bet to assume these guys were the real deal. After all, we were literally in jail. I remembered all the times one of my peers had quipped, "You would get shot if you ever went to the hood," thinking they were being original. I thought, here's my chance. Let's win them over. I started asking the guys in there what type of rap music they liked. I asked if they liked Plies, who was my favorite rapper at the time. Music info. There are certain hip-hop artists that are more popular with white audiences and certain artists more popular with black audiences. Plies fits into the latter category, so the great thing was nobody expected a white guy to be asking about Plies, let alone know his entire discography. Plies also happened to be from Florida, so he's really huge there, and I knew they would all know him. That was something we bonded over. Plies had a new single out, Really From the Hood, where he says, "I'm from the hood, though, like the hood, though, like really, really, really from the hood, though." Because of his thick Southern accent, I thought the lyrics were, "I'm from the hood, dog, like the hood, dog." I started singing it like that, and they thought it was absolutely hilarious. It felt really great to be genuinely interested in a culture I could share with other people. They also gave me some advice. They looked around, they asked me what I was there for, and then one guy told me, "Bruh, look around. Nobody else is here for shoplifting. That's just some dumb shit." Because it was coming from people that seemed to accept me and people I thought were cool, I actually paid attention. There's one image that has stayed burned in my mind. If you've ever been to jail, you know that the setup is reminiscent of a school cafeteria with the round tables and attached stools. I remember sitting there while 4 or 5 black guys stood around me, and you would have thought it was a comedy show the way I had them laughing. I was asking about the hoodest parts of Florida so I could go hit them up when I got out. They told me in southern Florida, the farther south you go, like towards Miami, the harder it gets. They found my desire to be black hysterical and not offensive in the least. I remember thinking, if only every person who ever repeated that garbage of "you'd get shot if you ever went to the hood," if only they could see me now. But jail wasn't all fun, if you can believe that. The downside to jail was it's the kind of place that doesn't have to give you answers that make sense. They don't have to explain anything to you. For someone with autism, that is horrible. Even if I don't like what's happening, I always need to know why. As a matter of fact, especially if I don't like what's happening. I usually knew what was happening to me, but I could rarely figure out why. For most people with autism, the why is more important than the what. I didn't like not knowing how long I was going to be there. The legal system is arcane. I didn't understand how things worked, and I bet half the people working there didn't know how it worked. So while I was having fun with the guys in there, I was anxious to know when I would be able to leave. Finally, I got an answer. One of the guards told me I would probably be out by the end of the day. But then someone said, "You can't believe what the guards tell you. Just because he said that doesn't mean anything." I said, "Who can I believe? Where can I get a fucking answer?" I wasn't okay with vague answers and not getting any information. I was being so annoying by asking so many questions that the guards probably went to one of their bosses and said, "Hey, we have to get this guy out of here. He's driving us nuts." I really think that might have happened because it was clear that I wasn't playing dumb. I was being genuinely naive and annoying. The staff informed me that I would be able to bond out by the end of the day. One of my cellmates told me, "Man, just relax. You're not going to be here for very long, so just go to sleep and know that you only have a few hours left." I thought about that and started to feel pretty lucky because I wasn't going to be there for a long time, unlike a lot of the guys there. I relaxed and fell asleep. Several hours later, one of the guards knocked on my door and told me I could bond out. I got to the bond office and everyone was just sitting around. There was a desk with some sassy, diverse ladies, not at all unlike the DMV. My bond was $25. At the time, my parents had given me a Visa Bucks card. The card was made for teenagers, so parents could load money on it electronically but limit the use of it. I thought I had enough money, but Visa Bucks charges processing fees. Also, the system charged inmates a small daily fee for being in jail. I don't understand how that's legal. We're going to bring you to jail and then we're going to charge you. Seems very third world to me. I know you committed a crime, but you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. No matter how many times you explain it to me, forcing someone to pay to be held against their will just seems very un-American. When they called me up to bail out and said my card only paid for $20 out of my $25 bail, I asked frantically if I could call someone to get more money and figure something out. The clerk who was dealing me yelled, "He's a no-go, next!" That could have easily been one of the worst moments of my life. All that buildup to finally get released from jail and then getting turned away in a matter of seconds for something totally out of my control. And then there's a shock-faced emoji. It really would have been the ultimate change of plans scenario that people on the spectrum loathe so greatly. But before I could completely panic, a guy from my cell block who was sitting nearby overheard me and said, "What, is he $5 short?" He had $5 cash, and the guard asked the clerk if that was allowed. There was a pause where everyone seemed kind of shocked, and the clerk said in a very surprised tone, "If he wants to give it to him, he can." Much like the guy who hauled my mom's Yukon XL out of the snow, which is a story from earlier in the book, this guy stepped in at the absolute 11th hour to save my ass. You can't write this stuff, and it wraps up my whole experience in jail perfectly, with a perfect ending. Not only did I make some friends, it's almost done.
Okay, sorry, I thought that was the
want me-
end. My bad. No, keep
I
going.
thought,
Keep
I
going.
thought this was just commentary.
I thought that was done. Sorry, go on.
Not only did I make some friends, but one of them cared enough to help me get the hell out of there. As the receptionist took the $5, she told me, "It's very rare that this happens." She didn't have to tell me, though. I was beside myself with appreciation, and I had the perfect way to thank him. As the guards handed me back my bag filled with clothes I had shoplifted from other stores, I asked him if he needed anything. He ended up taking the shirt I had worn to the mall, which was a black long-sleeved American Eagle shirt. He was all, "Bruh, that's perfect. Good looks." It was great to repay this good Samaritan and be able to give him something back. I felt like the world's most virtuous shoplifter. So that was that. I was out of jail. I hadn't told my parents about this adventure yet, and then I realized I didn't have to tell them at all. There is a certain affinity that you develop for things when they are 100% yours. Living in Florida with my parents thousands of miles away gave me the first experiences of my life that felt like they were completely mine. No doubt they would and did find out eventually what happened, But in that moment, walking out of jail was a feeling I wanted to keep all to myself. I caught the bus and headed home. I had been worried about my cat, Beautiful Boy. There was a girl named Emily in the program. She was kind of cute, and we had hung out together a few times. I have no idea why the program accepted her, because she was totally neurotypical and didn't seem to have any problems. It felt pretty cool to be the guy that she became friends with, because I felt like she saw me as the closest to normal out of the bunch. I turned my phone on, and thank God there were a bunch of texts from her wondering where I was, saying she had been taking care of my cat. So that was my first experience in jail. I have to say, it was kind of fun. I went through it all by myself, and no one even knew it happened. I hold it as a cool memory for that reason. But I would later find out that jail is definitely only cool the first time. There it is.
Done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Good, right?
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not
How
bad
the
at
hell
all.
was your bail only $25? Mine was $2,500. So
Because they usually don't even take people to jail for shoplifting.